Hi, we've come all the way out to Hampshire, Illinois to Dyno Tune MP. It's actually a very nice shop, and we're going to do a stock dyno tune or stock dyno test on a Scion FRS. All right, so what's the point of a dyno? This day and age, there's many different types of chassis dynos. We have Dynapack, Mustang dyno, and in this case, we have a Dynojet 248. This bad boy is capable of handling up to 1,200 horsepower at the drum. So we're gonna really test the limits today with this sub 200 horsepower car and get real nasty. All right, so we finished the stock dyno of the Scion FRS. So what was the result? 158 horsepower. So that's not what the point of this is. The point was to get a baseline and to see if we could learn anything. The one thing that we did learn, most importantly, is this car is super sensitive to temperature fluctuation. The computer is very finicky about what it does with engine output, or power output rather. So based on coolant temperature, intake air temperature, and oil temperature, that the engine computer is constantly adjusting. So as our coolant temperature rose, which was the biggest thing, being stationary on rollers with a fan, it didn't seem to be able to control the temperature very well idling. So as we hit 215 to 220, which was really where this engine was running at in terms of coolant, the power started getting dialed back severely. And as the intake temperature rose, we were seeing 6 out of our 9 dyno runs were in the 130 and 140 horsepower range. It wasn't until we got those temperatures stabilized, after basically just sitting with fans on the car, that we were able to get 158 horsepower.
Picked up 4 horse, let it cool down.
So it's good to know, because if you're on the street and it's a hot day and you're idling in traffic and then you want to goose it, and you realize the car feels sluggish, it's likely because, you know, the car is dialing back power for various reasons that I mentioned. Okay, so that leads us to our big question. What's your background in cars? Where did you start and where are you at now?
Well, I started in the early 1970s, 1970 itself. Actually, I bought a BMW 2002 that had actually been partially track prepared, and I took it up to the old Breyer Motorsports Park up in Loudon, New Hampshire, and the BMW Car Club of America was just forming then.
Okay, so now we know kind of where you've come from. Where are you at now?
Well, I bought the S2000 back in late '99. Because of health issues, multiple heart operations, I wasn't able to regain a competitive license. People were willing to let me return to the track to instruct, and so I wound up becoming an absolute track junkie for the last 13 years.
Okay. So if you were gonna recommend, if a student came to you and said, I want to get involved in motorsports, what would be a few cars that you would consider recommending to people at this point?
You know, I've been asked that question a lot, and my answer has really been on a single vein. I've recommended to buy a Miata almost every time. Okay. You know, the entry level cost and the breadth of parts, the support that the manufacturer makes, provides, and the number of people involved, the level of expertise. I mean, it's just a wealth of information to help you get off the ground and get going. Okay. And it's not all that expensive.
The FRS is a car that a lot of people have gotten in immediately, and their first reaction is it's a driver's car. But it's not an extreme sports car. I don't think it's anywhere near as extreme as the S2000. But this is a good foundation for a lot of like younger people, or even people who have never been in a rear-wheel drive car, that could get into this affordably and learn how to drive in it. Have you heard anything in terms of that comparison to the MX-5?
I did see one where they compared it to a Lotus Elise, which sort of surprised me.
Okay.
And they were very, very happy with the driving characteristics. Of course, the Elise is a much more agile car, but to have them comparing one to the other and being fairly pleasantly surprised about it, it says a lot about the car.
Okay. So you've never seen in person an FRS or BRZ before today?
No, this is it. This is the very first time. Yeah. Feels nice. It makes a pretty nice statement as a driver's compartment. I mean, it's fairly cogent. I'm here to be driven, and you're here to drive me. Almost as free of frills as the S2000. Pretty cool. It's a driver's car. There isn't a lot of quality to the feel, but it's functional. Well, I like it a lot. I mean, you see a lot more of the road. Well, you know, I'm making a reference to my car, the S2000, and you can see a lot more of the road. It must make turning on a racetrack into the corner very, very comfortable. I did expect something a little stiffer, but that's probably because I've spent so much time in the S2000. It's a much more manageable ride. This actually, I think, could be a nice performance daily driver, where the S2000 really isn't a daily driver, except for somebody who's probably not balanced. It's right up there with a really good S2000 gearbox. S2000 gearboxes in the early years were not consistent. About 10-15% of the gearboxes had a hesitation in it. This one doesn't have any hesitation at all. It goes right into the slot. You know where it is. You know, I'm shifting with a lot of finger feel here, and it's just very comfortable. For 5,000 RPM range, it sort of gets a little flat, does it? I'm pretty surprised that you can buy it for the sort of money you told me you can get this car for. The great thing is that if you really want to, it's an all-around car. You can drive it, you can autocross it, you can track it. You know, I obviously don't know what the nuances of the car are, but based upon this short drive, it's a keeper. It's a keeper.
All right, we're here at Rantoul Aviation Base, and this is the baseline test of the Scion FRS in stock form with RS3 tires, and we'll see how it goes. Like most cars of this type, people seem to have an obsession with modifying them. So today we're going to take two drivers. I've never autocrossed this car before, but I have plenty of driving experience. And then my buddy, Scott Turbowski Pedraza, he's never autocrossed at all, but we have very similar driving experience. To take a stock car, put two drivers in it, and see the variation in driving style and the actual times we're gonna run on the course. This will give us a clear baseline and just kind of show the differences in times between two different drivers. In the case of autocross, this is a good example. We have two identical cars, Except this car is entered into a stock class, rear wheel street tire, or C stock. This car is entered into a class called STX. And the reason it's an STX is because the owner has placed wider wheels and tires, an intake silicone tube, and has also changed the ECU tuning to allow for higher performance running E85 or 93 octane. So these subtle changes have put it into a different class of vehicle, or actually a different class altogether. So we'll be able to compare a stock car versus a slightly modified car as well, and compare the times and see how that goes. Like I overdrove it there totally.
You're way fucking harder on the brakes. Damn it, I can't launch it. God damn it.
Oh, yeah.
A little better. Still fucking feels like shit.
So why don't we take a look at the times overall from the day. So you can see here, in 15th place and second overall in the class, I ran a 53.607. Our STX competitor, which is the modified FRSs, were very close at 53.743, and his co-driver is about a half a second off him. And then further down was Scott with a 55.677. So you've seen the raw runs, and if you've never watched autocross before, it just looks like a mess. It looks confusing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down the sector by sector driving performance between Scott and I. You're going to see that Scott's on the left, I'm on the right. We start off almost identically, shift point's the same. But it's as soon as we hit this first slalom where you see that Scott is much farther behind on his turn-in points, whereas I'm basically carrying the same speed through and turning in quickly. We're going to start the second sector at the same point, and you can see again, Scott's just behind on his turn-in, and his hand position, he actually shifts. Instead of making one continuous turn, he shifts his hands on the wheel, and then through the end of the turn, he lets go when the car snaps, and it causes a loss of control a little bit. And this is just a difference in driving style. In Sector 3, you can see I'm making more of one continuous turn where Scott's tending to adjust his hands on the wheel, change position, which just slows him down overall. The last sector is more of the same. You can just see Scott's much slower to turn in than I am, and his time suffers by almost 2 seconds. You've seen the times, you've seen the sector by sector comparison. What do we take away from it? Driver difference is the biggest factor, driving skill. The second thing that we had problems with in this autocross was our alignment actually went off, which is really strange because I've done a lot of autocross and I haven't had this problem, but The toe was off by a large margin. We lost, well, our steering was off center as well. And we had about 19 runs between the two of us. So it could have been the pavement being extremely choppy. I don't know, but everything was tight going in. So I hope this isn't an ongoing problem with the car. There's a lot of different types of cars out here. This is an S2000, and the owner has decided that he was going to cheat and put a nail in his tire for extra grip. It didn't pay off because Tech caught it, and now the guy's not allowed back ever again.
Hey, spike tires are faster, you know, concrete surface.
So we've established how the FRS is as a daily driver. We've established how it autocrosses. We pushed it pretty hard there. We pushed it so hard, it needs a pretty serious alignment actually right now. And you know, why stop there? Let's track this thing. I don't know, Gingerman? Well, before we can do that, we need to make a few modifications to make sure it's track ready. So stay tuned.
All right, we're back here at Turbowski Performance. We're here with lead engineer Scott Turbowski. He's the chief correspondent on this project, and also he is helping us transform a stock FRS into an almost nearly stock FRS today. So what about your shop, Scott? Why should people come here?
Why should they come here?
That's about right. See, Turbowski is only good at one thing, and that's
Putting turbos on everything.
yeah, he turbos everything, even big rigs that have turbos already.
And lawnmowers.
Lawnmowers. So in our first autocross we did, it was on a concrete surface, and really you still kind of felt the rotation of the car. And we get on regular pavement or blacktop, the car's going to rotate a lot more. So it's pretty much common knowledge that a front sway bar will help this a lot and make the car more stable on the track. So I talked to Sam Strano, who is a autocrossing national champion in Corvettes and rear-wheel drive cars in general. He bought one of these guys and he designed his own sway bar for it. So since he is a driver, I'm taking his advice and I'm going to use his bar because it's not too aggressive and not too weak at the same time. So I'm hoping that'll neutralize some oversteer on this car. And we're going to attempt to put that on. What's the potential problem?
Getting to it, getting it out, because it's too bad you can't get a picture, but yeah, sandwiched in the frame.
Okay, so we're going to drop some panels. And what about these end links?
That becomes another problem too.
What's wrong with them?
They won't unscrew.
Why?
Because they're a piece of shit.
Yeah, well,
Pretty much.
yeah,
Poor design, very poor design.
Okay, so we're gonna have to deal with end links. If we can't get them off, then we're stuck with the factory bar for this track day. And let's get started because time's a wasting. Jesus Christ, not again.
I dropped my nuts.
All right, the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna swap in Project Mu semi-track pads and the Project Mu .4 brake fluid, just as a precaution for the track.
Nice, easy. Look at that high performance dual piston. Killing me.
So the other thing to note about this is you can see in here, this is just through one winter how everything's completely rusted already. That's just the side effect of salts in the Midwest. I'm sure.
I should probably wear proper safety gear while I do this.
Turbowski's always wearing the proper safety gear to complete a grinding job.
And I can't see what the hell I'm doing because it's so fucking dirty.
Was that what you wear when you have ass sex or what?
I can't even
It's all full of brown.
I can't even see through that.
So what Turbowski just did was take this caliper bracket and he cleaned it up. He cleaned it up because you want everything to move freely. A lot of people that are doing brake jobs tend to just pull the pads off and throw the shit back in here, and it's just, you know, you run a risk of things binding up. So he's lubed it, he's cleaned it, and now we're gonna have an explosive braking experience. What do you think of the performance of these brakes so far?
Oh, it's amazing. Absolutely amazing. You're gonna need a 5-point harness the first time you hit the brakes so they don't go through the windshield.
Dude, what the fuck just happened to your forehead?
It's from that.
What a fucking idiot. You can tell the difference between the PMUs and the stock pads. So these are the PMUs, the 800 HCs, or the 800. What the hell is it?
800.
The 800 series. I don't know why they got to make brake pads with crazy names. Just,
Well, they'll stop you from 800 miles an hour.
yeah, oh, okay, that's what it
Simple.
is.
But see, these have nothing on them, so they're a piece of shit.
You just threw away my stock pads? So we just got done doing the pads, or Turbowski got done doing the pads. I just stood around and looked pretty. But now that we have the pads on, you definitely want to pump the brakes up before you go on the next step, which is going to be bleeding the brakes. All right, so next here we're going to do the brake fluid flush. This is the same Project U G4 335 brake fluid. Mike from Counterspace Garage hooked me up with this, but I have to say it's a little, well, not a little pricey, it's expensive. It's $50 for a liter of this stuff when you could probably get AP Racing or modal fluid for half the price and probably get you close to the same performance level. It's got some crazy high boiling points, but for a stock car, we're never gonna hit it. So we're trying out something new, but just be aware of that. All right, Turbowski's gonna suck the fluid out of the reservoir. Usually what he does is he does this by mouth, but today his lips are a little chafed from going to town on some of the boys locally.
That thing sure sucks. Dump that shit, bro.
So basically all I'm doing now is I'm filling up this reservoir. It's teal and real pretty, but
Teal to match the faggot brake pads.
hey bro. So now we got the machine hooked up to the rear right caliper and we're gonna start sucking. Rear left caliper.
This is a high-tech bleeding bottle. You can't buy this from Snap-on. If they did, it'd probably be about $1,000.
All right, what we have here is a no frills anti-sway bar, front anti-sway bar from Strano. And it looks exactly like the factory bar. So we're gonna unpack this and try to install it. And this is a special feature that he sent from JCPenney. And this details all the different color flip-flops I can wear while I'm doing high performance driving. So the first thing we gotta do is drop this skid plate.
To take the aluminum plate off.
As you can see, it's a combination of the actual sheet metal screws and plastic clips, which we're using a clip remover not to break them.
Trying not to break them. Oh, now we're gonna lose some weight. It was this way, though. No. And this one, you have to use a high-tech screwdriver for them if you want to show where these have to come off.
So there's a couple extra clips that hold on this cover. So just a quick primer, this is your tie rod end to your steering rack. Again, sway bar end link, sway bar, your brake rotor, your shock, or strut rather.
And if your car's any older than this, these are going to be a nightmare to get off.
Yeah, that's something to keep in mind with this bar since it doesn't come with replacement end links. like Scott was saying,
You're supposed to be able to hold it with an Allen wrench, but even this thing being almost new, I can't get in there because it's so freaking rusty. And if you have a problem, it'll strip right out, but I applied penetrating oil earlier.
what'd you put on there?
Penetration oil.
Okay, as you can see here, there's 4 bolts that hold on these small frame rails. You unscrew the 4 bolts, and the entire bar on the frame comes down, so you could just easily reinstall the other bolt or the new bar, and then also make sure you do some curls.
Still can't do it.
All right, next we're just mounting up the Strano bar to the factory bracket. Turbowski here, he's got the lube all out.
You got it on the wrong way.
He's got his little brush that he uses for applying it, and this is handy for also his other parts. He doesn't know what he's doing, look at him. It's not a turbo, bro.
I don't know how to work on anything but that.
So the sway bar is installed. The hardest part is the little end link retainers. The last thing we're doing for this is, prior to a track day, we are going to retorque all the suspension bolts just to make sure that everything's in check based on all the factory specifications and the service manual. So I'm going to go through and retorque the actual bolts based on the service manual located here. All right, we're pulling up here for our 4th session, and it's still cold. It's 43, which isn't really great for these tires, and it's still damp on track, so we'll see how it goes. Hopefully this will be the best shot of the day to see how this car handles in stock form.
Definitely lacks power. Oh, baby.
Brakes are starting to fade a little bit. The car really naturally wants to rotate. It's just unsettling because the rotation it's neutral, but at the same time it just feels wallowy. I can't put my finger on it. Like through this section, the back end starts to feel real disconnected. All right, so to recap, we just finished our 4th session out here. The car stock with the RS3 tires, once there's some heat in the brakes and the tires, The car feels really good. Again, I have to reiterate that the car tends to feel wallowy in the rear. It just feels a little unstable. It doesn't give you that confidence that I would like to push it harder. Now, obviously, I'm not out here trying to set lap records or go 10/10ths, but the rear end's definitely twitchy. And then, of course, the straight line speed just isn't there. You know, you get up there and the Mustangs are just gone in a straight line, just absolutely gone. And no matter how much I drive fast through the corners, I'm not going to catch those guys. So straight line speed is one, and then the second is the rear end.
Well, no, this I like it. Lack of power would be my biggest complaint. And you're right, where you go around that sweeper, it's almost like you feel the car pivot.
Yeah.
At center, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's like you got it loaded, and then it unloads, and then it loads again.
So what did we learn today? Well, first we learned that you don't want to come to a track day unless you change your brake pads to something more aggressive. After swapping the pads and brake fluid, we did still notice some fade on these pads, so it's a good thing that we decided to swap them. Brake temperatures were high, but we didn't have any problem with boiling over the fluid or just catastrophic brake failure at all, so that's a good thing. The car was extremely good stock to drive. My only problem with it is the rear end just is very vague sometimes. You don't get a lot of confidence in some areas of this track, and I just think it might be either the way the shocks or springs are tuned in the rear, or it could be just bushing issues. There just feels like there's a lot of slop.
So the track segment's complete for the FRS, and we have some good data points now. We know where the car excels, and that's in balance, handling. We know where it falls short, and that's quite honestly speed, especially straight line speed. So what can we do to correct that? In our next segment called modification, we're going to see what it'll cost to improve the speed of this car, and is it really worth it? Stay tuned.